my niggas turn shooters. All my ops turn rats. All my niggas turn shooters. On the internet, you ain't been a threat. You been stuck in a computer. Show me the proof. All my niggas turn shooters. All my niggas from the Oota. Welcome to the Oota. All my niggas from the Oota. All my niggas turn shooters. All my ops turn rats. All my niggas turn shooters. On the internet, you ain't been a threat. You been stuck in a computer. Show me the proof. All my niggas from the Oota. All my niggas turn shooters. All my ops turn rats. All my niggas turn shooters. On the internet, you ain't been a threat. You been stuck in a computer.
You already know the vibes. You already know the vibes. Salute on Go family. Welcome to the whole on Go. Shout out to the whole Go gang. Listen, right now we got preliminary hearings for OnlyFans model Michaela Rylaarsdam in a fatal fetish trial, which is crazy, man. It's a crazy situation. Listen, just to break down a little bit of the situation, she was hired by a guy and was paid $11,000. I do want to read a little more specifics, but she was paid $11,000 to come do her role and do her job as, you know what I mean? The whole thing about everything what happened, though, this was crazy. While they doing, so allegedly he got unalived by having a bag put over his head. And this all happened on her live on OnlyFans. This happened on her OnlyFans, and this man was not able to be saved. So let me just give you a little backstory. Salute to everybody. Make sure y'all dropping a like. When y'all get in here, drop a like. I don't even know if you're hearing. Listen. In April in 2023, Michaela Rylaarsdam, a 31-year-old OnlyFans model, was hired by Michael Dale, a 56-year-old, to perform a BDSM-themed fetish session at his home in Escondido, California. Now, Dale paid Rylaarsdam $11,000 for the session, during which he requested to be wrapped in plastic wrap and duct tape with women's boots glued to his feet.
Oh, no, you can't be serious. That is some bullshit right there.
To each his own. With women's boots glued to his feet. However, additional materials, including a plastic bag and more duct tape, were applied to his head, leading to suffocation. Now, Rylaarsdam filmed the session for her OnlyFans content while Dale was in distress, despite attempting CPR and calling 911. Dale was declared brain dead and later removed from life support. The medical examiner ruled the cause of death, asphyxiation, and the manner of death as a homicide. Now, Rylaarsdam's arrested. She was arrested in February 2025 and charged with second-degree murder. And she has pleaded not guilty and is awaiting trial in San Diego, where she is being held without bond. Her defense argues that the act was consensual and that she did not intend for Dale to pass away during this encounter. Man, this is crazy. She's an OnlyFans model. She was doing her job. She was hired by this guy. She paid $11,000. Shout out to that she got her bread. But they're saying too much plastic was wrapped. What if he was the one asking her to do this, do more, do more? You see what I'm saying? So we don't know the situation. That's why these kind of situations and passion and that, it's crazy, man. This is why they have a trial going on for this case. And she doesn't have bond. So we're going to get into this breakdown. Salute to everybody. Let's listen into the trial and the hearing and see exactly what's going on. We already see that she is charged with second-degree murder right now. So let's just see what's going on. Everybody drop a like. Everybody get in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking about this story. It's a crazy story, but look, it just shows you. You don't have to go outside and think you King Von on the slides or you Ricky in Boys in the Hood. Nah, look, you doing some in her defense. The defense is saying a consensual act. Y'all doing what y'all doing, and then somebody pass away and get unalived. You know what I mean? It's crazy, man. God bless this guy's family. God bless Dale's family. You know what I mean? Condolences to everybody that lost him. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of the fact whether he was having fun, whether it was consensual or not. Did he really deserve to lose his life for this situation? No, we all know that to be the truth. So salute to everybody. Let's get back to the video.
Discuss if anyone had issues with the media request. It's my understanding this is not an ID case, and therefore there are no objections to the media being present people.
Correct.
Defense.
It's not an ID case, Your Honor.
Understood. So no objection.
Correct.
Okay. So that's granted, and as I explained, all filming can occur However, at some point, we're going to play some videos which will not be allowed to be shown on camera. So with that said, are there any other motions we need to attend to before we start calling witnesses?
I move to exclude witnesses and admonish.
That's granted. Make sure you admonish any of your witnesses not to discuss the case while the preliminary hearing is going on.
Finding the witness. I just want to comment. I understand the judge's rulings that the shackles are not going to come off for a preliminary hearing where the jury's not present. I'm still a little surprised.
Yeah, it sounds like he just didn't want to take the time.
Yeah.
She's certainly not one of those types of defendants that one would think
Right.
there would be an issue with her not being shackled in court.
But it's
But
a
I think
security
they're on her waist
concern.
already, and to take them off for a preliminary hearing where there's no prejudice to the jurors or anything.
Yeah.
I think that's where
Yeah,
he was
I
at.
think you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just want to say, this is a crazy,
Yeah.
crazy case.
Tell us more.
This is about a couple, two people living together, having 3 kids, having a OnlyFans page that's idyllic family life,
Mm-hmm.
but then having a secondary page where there's a sex company where she would rent out strippers,
Mhm.
including herself. And this guy rented her out to do some sort of sadomasochism type stuff that went too far. And she was filming it all for her OnlyFans page. It just really, for me, is another sign of the times.
Which the customer wanted.
Yes.
He wanted the act with the saran wrap over the head, and then wanted it filmed and put on the page. It is a sign
He
of the
wanted
times.
some of it. The state is claiming he didn't want the bag over the head, never asked for that specifically. And they're saying the whole thing went too far, should have stopped. She didn't stop it.
And
Therefore,
that's
she's
why they've
guilty.
charged her.
Right.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting case. All right, we're going to have more from this preliminary hearing. But I have to ask you this, knowing that asphyxiation is the cause of death, homicide the manner, if in fact there was no consent, nothing in writing from this now deceased victim saying, please put the saran wrap, the bag over my head, does that mean there's a conviction? How do you get out of that on second degree when it can be a reckless disregard for human life?
Well, first of all, when you're engaging in fetishistic, kinky sex, it's not necessarily something that you articulate. You don't voice it to each other like, hey, do you want to put some shrink wrap over my head? Do you want to mummify me? And let's do some kinky sex play. No, you just do it. And as you're doing it, you can circumstantially infer the consent that this is sort of like the mutual assent, if you will, of both parties. And if I'm not mistaken, this is something that she did on a regular basis and then he paid to have done. This is sort of like a weird extracurricular activity on his part. I will say, to be fair to Michaela, though, that this is overfiled. Under California law, this should be nothing more than an involuntary manslaughter.
That's what this should really be. This should really be an involuntary manslaughter. You know, just how they're charging it. They're charging it with second degree. You see how you said, though, that, you know, it just happens. I agree with him in some senses. But when you go into a lot of that kinky, weird sex, then people be having like safe words and all type of stuff like that, you know what I mean, as well. But like he said, these people had their own OnlyFans, a couple, right? 3 kids. And she hired escorts as well as rented herself out. This one occasion, she was hired by this individual for $11,000, and ultimately she ended up here in court facing second-degree murder. That's crazy. Let me know what y'all thinking about that. Let's get back to
Voluntary manslaughter. And what that means is that it's an unintentional killing caused by criminal negligence. And the complete legal victory for her would be that this only carries 4 years. And I would be surprised that if the jury comes back on a second degree reckless murder type implied malice theory, where you engage in a reckless act just in deliberate disregard for human life. And I don't think that's what happened here. I think instead she engaged in a criminally negligent act by not exercising due caution with complete circumspection. And that's ultimately what ended his life. But you can infer the consent by how they interacted and how they landed in bed together.
But Philip, here's the deal, and I think this is what might have led, I think it's probably what led to the second degree murder charge. During the filming of this, her husband is watching. He asks her, is he still breathing? While she is performing for her OnlyFans page. It's not till she finishes performing that she realized something is wrong and calls 911. I think that little performance part is the part where they say reckless disregard. I got about 30 seconds, Philip.
Absolutely. If that comes into evidence and she is in deliberate disregard of human life, knowing good and well he can't breathe, under California law, that is a second-degree murder. Now, on the other hand, if it just truly rises to the level,
You know, I ain't a lawyer, so I ain't gonna drag it out. But imagine that you're doing this thing, you putting your face, wrapping your head up with saran wrap and stuff. The whole part that this person is getting off on is the asphyxiation, they can't breathe thing. So maybe when you get in, that's what I'm saying, you're into all of this wild stuff. He might have been looking just the way he was looking just a minute ago. He was acting the same way. But now, you see what I'm saying? It's a tangled web you weave, and it's only y'all two there. But she filmed it though. So yeah, you filmed it though. Wow. I wonder if they're gonna show still shots from that to the public, not to the jurors, to the public.
of criminal negligence mean that she didn't exercise due care, she can get an invol, 4-year top.
All right. Thank you so much, Philip Dubé, as always, for joining us today.
All right, folks, we'll have more from the hearing for the fatal fetish murder case from
Can you describe for us just briefly sort of the layout of the house? You walk in the front door.
You walk into the front door, to your right is the kitchen. You go a couple more feet and there's the hallway to the 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. And then there's, to your right, like I said, this kitchen, living room, another room, and then the corridor to the garage.
So back on April 17th of 2023, who was all living at this home?
At this time, me, there's a roommate named Helen, a roommate named Cindy, and we had another roommate, a male, gosh, I can't remember what his name was, and then Michael Dale.
Okay. So Michael, another male, you, and then
2 females.
2 females. Did everyone have their own room? Were there shared rooms?
Everybody had their own room.
Okay.
We had one shared bathroom between the 3, other than the master bedroom.
I want to talk to you now about Michael Dale. So this incident, we're talking about April 17th of 2023. About how long had Michael Dale been living there up to this incident?
He'd only been there about 5 days, maybe about a week.
Throughout the 5 days, maybe a week that he had been there, had you had many interactions with Mr. Dale?
No, I only talked to him about twice when I saw him in the kitchen. It was a, hey, how are you doing type of thing. I asked him if he needed anything because he had just moved in. But in those 5 days, I only basically saw him twice.
So Mr. Dale's bedroom, right? So you walk in the front door. How do you get to his bedroom?
You walk through the front door, you go a couple feet to the hallway, and then his room is all the way at the end of the hallway.
And where is that in relation to where your bedroom was at?
It's completely on the other side of the house. My bedroom's in the garage. So, complete opposite sides of the house.
So I want to talk to you now about that day, April 17th of 2023. Do you remember seeing Mr. Dale that day?
That day he, like I said, I was in my garden and he opened his window or came out the slider door, I can't remember, and said that he was gonna have a friend over from a certain time to a certain time. And then that was it for the day.
You said you were out in the garden?
Yeah.
Do you remember about what time of day it was, morning?
It was probably pretty early. I'd probably say about 10:30 or 11, maybe. I'm not too sure exactly what time that was.
That's okay. So the day goes on. Did you see Mr. Dale again?
I didn't see Mr. Dale again until the whole incident happened.
So you see him when you're out in the garden earlier. Do you remember what happened between the time where you're in your garden And the next time you saw him after the incident, like were you at the house?
I was at the house, but I suffer from chronic pain, and I'm a cancer survivor, so a lot of times if I do anything, I'll be down for hours. So after I saw him, I didn't see him again, like I said, until the incident. I pretty much was in my room up until that point. I did make dinner around 3:30 in the afternoon, but I didn't see anybody at that time. I rarely see the other roommates unless, they need something from me, or they're doing laundry, or they're in the kitchen with me or something, but
Okay.
that was the only time.
Can you describe for us how it was that you became aware of the incident?
I came in to get dessert and I heard some commotion. I put my dessert back and then was proceeding back to my room to call my sister because I was like, what's going on? I got a text from one of the roommates saying all this noise.
Objection, hearsay, overruled, effect on listener. Next question.
So you mentioned the commotion. Could you tell from where the commotion was coming from?
Yeah, I could tell it was coming from Michael's room because there was only 3 of us home at the time. Helen, Michael, and me. All the other roommates were either at work or gone.
You also mentioned you texted your sister. How does your sister fit into this house?
My sister owns the house. She's basically the landlord.
Okay. And you texted your sister.
I called my sister, sorry.
Apologies.
Yeah,
Called your
sorry.
sister. What was sort of the purpose of the phone call to your sister?
I was calling my sister because Michael had brought home a female and stuff was going on that we don't really allow kind of in the house. We don't have overnight guests. We try to be respectful, but it sounded like, stuff was going on that shouldn't be going on. And I mean, to each his own, but you got roommates.
Could you be more specific? What was going on? What wasn't allowed in the house?
Well, the overnights, but he brought home, I don't know how you want me to say,
Just use your own words.
prostitute hooker or whatever. And you gotta go get a hotel for that. You move in 5 days and this is what's going on. I had gotten a text from the other roommate, which she said was all the noise was going on and she was scared.
So other than you, Mr. Dale, and his guest, who else was home at this point in time?
Helen,
Is
the
that
other roommate.
your other roommate?
Yeah.
Is this the one you were texting with?
Yeah, she had sent me the text, telling me that all kinds of
Objection,
things.
hearsay. Sustained.
So you're sensing this commotion coming from Mr. Dale's room. You mentioned you put your dessert away. What do you remember next?
I remember next was Helen coming out to the garage, saying that
Objection, hearsay. Overruled, effect on listener. You can continue.
coming out saying that the girl needed help. So I came into the house and walked towards Michael Dale's room with Helen and the girl. And that's when I saw Mr. Dale, and I said, we need to call 911. So one of the girls, I'm not too sure who dialed 911. We got the 911 operator on the phone, and we said that, he wasn't breathing, so he was like, you guys start CPR. The girls looked at me to do it, but in my physical, I wouldn't have been able to do it. We would have had 2 ambulances coming. The girl started CPR. When I saw the situation, the CPR was started, I went to the front door and opened it up for the ambulance or police officers that were going to be coming.
Okay. You're mentioning the girl. Are you talking about Helen or the female guest?
Oh, female guest, sorry.
That same female guest that you're describing, do you also see here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
For the record, can you please describe where she's seated and what color shirt she's wearing?
I think it was red or pink, and it was a.
I'm sorry, today. Where is she today?
Oh, sorry. She's sitting over there. She has a gray sweatshirt on.
The witnesses identified the defendant. Thank you. So, to back up a little bit, the commotion you hear, are you talking about noises, voices, music?
I heard noises and voices.
Could you tell whose voice it was?
Michael Dale. You want me to say what I heard?
Well, so let me ask you another question. You hear Michael Dale's voice. Could you describe for us, are you able to tell if he's calm, if he's panicked, if he's something else?
I couldn't really tell, because like I said, the door is closed and I'm probably 30 feet, 25, 30 feet from his room. I could just hear him say, can we stop? I'll pay you a certain amount more money to stop. And that's when I realized that it wasn't a friend, it was a prostitute or whatever you want to say.
So you hear Mr. Dale say this comment. Are you in the kitchen at that point?
Basically in the kitchen.
And so after that, is that when you go back to the garage?
That's when I went back to the garage and called my sister and was trying to decide what we should do, call the police or, because like I said, Helen had texted me at that kind of same time-ish and was hearing noises and was frightened.
Where is Helen in the house when this is going on?
She was in her room, I do believe. Like I said, I wasn't in the house, so I'm not too sure, but I'm sure she was probably in her room because that would be her safest place.
So you were telling us before about how you leave the garage and you walk toward Mr. Dale's room, is
Yes.
that right? Did you actually go in and see what was going on in the room?
Yes, I went into Michael Dale's room and he was laying on the floor, not breathing. And that's when I was like, we need to call 911. And like I said, I can't remember.
We need to squeeze in a break here. Up next, the roommate testifies about what he saw the defendant doing when the alleged victim was in distress. You don't want to miss it. Stay here with us.
Michaela, I don't know which one called 911, but once we got them on and they were, given directions for CPR, Michaela started CPR.
You mentioned Mr. Dale was on the ground. Can you tell us, is he laying on his back, on his side?
He was on his back.
What do you remember about his clothing?
He had no shirt on. It looked to be like a pair of sweats. And then from his feet to about his waist was wrapped in saran wrap.
Like clear plastic wrap?
Yeah. And then his hands were above his head, and they were tied up. I can't remember if it was rope or tape.
And to be clear, the witness put his hands above his head, put one hand over the other, as if hands and arms were being suspended over the body. Continue.
And then he was laying there, and that was.
When you saw Mr. Dale in this state, could you tell something was wrong?
Yes. I kind of looked at his eyes and kind of noticed that he wasn't breathing, and that's when I was like, call 911.
All right, so 911's called. Did you stick around and wait for police arrival?
I went out into the kitchen, opened up the front door, kind of hanged out for a second. Well, before that, I took the animals, had a cat in the house, dogs outside, put them all together, then opened up the door and waited for the first arrival of, I think it was a police officer got there first. And then I walked him back to the bedroom. I don't know if he started to take over the CPR or not. I'm not too sure because I kind of stayed in the living room at that point.
You mentioned taking a step back. You mentioned his hands sort of above his head, tied together. How about his face or his head? Was there anything covering his face or head when you saw him?
No, not that I recall. I kind of like went in quick, kind of saw him laying there, looked and saw that he wasn't breathing and his eyes kind of looked weird. And that's when I was just like, let's call 911.
If I may have just one moment, Your Honor. You gotta take your time. Thank you, sir. I have no further questions.
Mr. Cohn, cross-examination.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So your sister owns the house,
Yeah,
and your bedroom is on the other side of the house.
yes.
So while you were in your bedroom, you couldn't really hear what was going on.
No.
You didn't know Mr. Dale that well, correct?
No, not at all.
He had a kind of a loud, boisterous voice, though, correct?
He was kind of blustery. Yeah, I mean, I don't know really how I could explain that, but like he, really kind of deepish, kind of loudish voice, but not like super loud, but more so versus how I'm talking.
Now, at some point you go into the kitchen.
Here with us now to discuss, criminal defense attorney Silva Megardici. And Silva, thank you for joining both of us. We always appreciate you coming on. This is one of those cases that the details and the facts are just so sordid that you think when it gets to a jury, because I think it's going to get past the preliminary hearing phase. And if this case goes before a jury, some are going to be very uncomfortable, no matter what they say during voir dire, listening to the details of the alleged consensual act that the two were engaging in.
Absolutely. First, Judge Ashley and Michael, I adore you both. You are the dream team. Thank you for having me. Look, it's California, and these fetish cases they're so soap opera, dramatic and dirty, as we saw like in the P. Diddy case. But I think all of that is secondary to how violent it is when you ignore that someone is struggling. And I think that's the biggest thing that a jury is really going to have to separate in their mind. The fact that this guy had some, abnormal fetishes, or I don't want to say abnormal because fetishes themselves are fetishes, right? But the fact that he was a man who trusted this woman to do this, but also entrusted her not to kill him. That is indisputable in this case, that the purpose was a sexual fetish fantasy, not to be killed or ignored if he was struggling. And think about it, saran wrap around the head and then tape around that. And according to initial reports, I think he was there for about 8 minutes without air. Any reasonable person has to be responsible and make sure that he's not dying. So yeah, just an awful case. But I think the juries are very smart, and lawyers at du voir dire understand. Focus on the facts, focus on the evidence, and not the gore of what they're going to hear.
Yeah, and quickly here, Silva, it requires an implied malice and a reckless disregard for life. I agree 100% with what you're saying. There's some responsibility here, but we're talking about second-degree murder. I'm not sure you get the implied malice. Now, they might get it from the fact that she was actually filming herself. This death might have occurred on camera, but at the end of the day, do you think they have enough here to get to that level?
I actually do. Look, there's no deliberation in a second-degree murder, but the implied malice, I still say, if you are covering someone's face in saran wrap, on top of that tape, ignore them for more than 6 minutes while you're filming another sex act. I actually think the prosecutors have a really strong case here. And the fact that she was filming everything. So when the officers took her phone, they're firsthand witnesses to what happened to this man struggling. I think the craziness of the ignoring, that's going to propel this case.
And I think they just haven't offered her a good enough deal for her to take, because I think they must know
Yes.
the writing's on the wall.
Fair enough. And somebody else, her husband, was watching the video, even asked her, is he still breathing? So even he, from the other side of the video, knew something was going on here.
Yeah.
All right, so for standby, we do need to take a break. When we come back, the roommate going to wrap up his testimony in the preliminary hearing in the fatal fetish murder case in California.
And the judge loses patience with accused murderer Donna Adelson and her defense team about whether or not she will testify.
But ultimately, you must choose whether you will testify or not.
I don't have to choose. I was hoping that we'd have some time to speak to my attorney.
This has already been discussed, Mayor. What is your choice?
The next.
It wasn't like a normal friend.
Okay, so it was the money that really kind of caught your attention.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Well, that and it was. We'll stop. Can we stop, or can we stop? I'll pay you X amount of money. That whole sentence caught my attention.
Now he's in the door. He's in his room, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Dale's in his room, correct?
Yeah.
The door is closed, correct?
Yes.
They were playing music in there, correct? Did you hear music in there?
Not that I recall. I kind of heard some noises, and then Michael Dale's voice. So I don't, it could have been TV or music or whatnot, but
And when you called your sister, you were concerned about the fact that there might be some acts of prostitution going on there, correct?
Yes.
At least at that point, you weren't concerned for Mr. Dale's safety, correct?
No, I was more concerned for the roommate Helen, because she was, like I said, she had texted me and was frightened.
And she had the the room next door to Mr. Dale.
Yes. They have a wall that connects their two rooms.
Now, you didn't see Michaela arrive with Mr. Dale at the residence?
No, I did not.
Did you tell Detective Hand, or Officer Hand, on May 11th, 2003, that you saw them arrive together?
No, I did not.
Now, Michaela, she didn't try and leave, correct? She didn't try and run.
No.
In fact, she gave CPR to Mr. Dale.
Yeah, she started the CPR, and like I said, I don't know if I think the cop took over when he arrived. I'm not too sure. And then the ambulance and a couple more cops, and they had Michaela come outside and pretty much stand there outside. They asked me, I brought her blanket.
Well, let me ask you this. Michaela, at the time, she seemed to be concerned about Mr. Dale, correct?
Yes.
She was upset about what was happening, correct?
Yes.
And
So concerned because she came out asking for help from Helen, and then Helen asked me, and that's when I came.
so she came out, she said, he needs help, call 911 or something to that effect.
I'm not too sure. I wasn't in that, because this is what she said to Helen. Helen came to me, we need help. That's when I came in the house. And we all proceeded to the bedroom.
And Michaela, she waited around until the police got there as well, correct?
Yes, she never left. Like I said, the only time I think that she had come out of the bedroom, because I think the first police officer took over CPR from her, and then the other cop had her. I think he had her go out front. I think she was pretty much out front from after the second police officer, I do believe, got there.
Thank you. Now, when the officers arrived on scene, you talked with them briefly when they came, correct?
Real briefly, they kind of like, where, and I'm like, showed them where to go.
Did you tell them a little bit about what happened?
No, I didn't talk to anybody about what happened until the detectives got there, I do believe.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Any redirect? No, thank you.
Sir, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next one.
Here. At around 10:11 p.m., did you get a call for service at 685 Terrace Avenue, City of Escondido, County of San Diego?
I did, sir.
Did you respond?
Yes, sir.
Were you the first one there?
I was.
At what time did you arrive at the residence?
I believe it was approximately 5 minutes after the initial call for service.
Around 10:16?
Yes, sir.
So walk us through what happened. You roll up on scene. What happens next?
When I exited my patrol car, there was 2 people standing outside of the residence who were, they were residents at that home. They stated there was a male inside the residence that needed medical assistance. I walked inside. There's a long hallway to the left. The male's room was at the end of that hallway. I walk inside. I see a male laying on his back and a female providing CPR.
The female providing CPR, do you see that same female here in court today?
She was at the table to my right, wearing a gray top.
Witnesses identified the defendant.
You mentioned the male laying down. Can you describe for us what you remember about his appearance?
Sure. So he appeared to be unconscious. He was lying on his back. He didn't have a shirt on. His arms were above his head, down like this. It appeared to be like some sort of tape and rope around his wrists. He was wearing red pants and had both of his legs bound together by a clear plastic wrap. And he was also wearing some black boots.
And once again, he said like this, and he put both hands over his head with his wrists together. Next question.
When you arrived on scene and went back to the bedroom, was your body cam rolling?
Yes, sir.
Permission to approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
And for the record, I'm approaching with People's 1 and the accompanying transcript. This is one of the videos we discussed, Your Honor. For the record, I've provided copies of transcripts to both counsel and the court. So I'm going to push play. I want you to watch the video and let me know if you recognize it, okay? Sure.
Down the hall. Is there anybody else in the house? Yeah, that family says on the way because is he breathing? Are his feet tight? Head back over there. Head back over there. Can we take your phone down? 911, can we take the one phone away? Yes. Yeah, he's here. Okay, look it up.
I'm a mother and a wife who's never do anything like this.
Ma'am, if you can just wait outside, please.
Ooh, this is going to be a real case right here. But like I said, anybody could just find themselves in a case like that. You don't got to be working and like she was hired. You just experiencing something with your partner. Next thing you know, it goes through far. Now you in a situation like her being charged for second degree unalive. You know what I mean? Heart goes out for. I feel bad for, you know what I'm saying, in this situation. But, you know what I mean? I don't know the particulars, you know what I mean? Because they're saying that she was still worried about her OnlyFans, that she wasn't helping the guy, Dale, and he was there for like 8 minutes. So that's a lot to process. That's a lot to process. But like I said, no one was there but them. So everything is, you know what I mean? Everything is what everybody say. But hey, what do we know? What the hell do we know? Tell me. Fire alarms beeping, all type of shit going on. Listen, bro, this is one of them cases. This is one of those situations, but I will be covering it. And I will be trying to go find the casework so that I can read a little bit more about the case and see something. I have read a little bit into it so far, as much as I could find, but I'll try to bring up the case file and maybe I'll be able to cover more and find out some more intricate details of this case. But if you're interested in this case, all you got to do is get in the comments, let me know. But I will be updating you on this case. So just let me know what you think about this case, what you think about her situation. They said it should have been an involuntary manslaughter probably, but she's being charged with second degree. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's not just she was working. This is SEX. So everybody does these things. Not that graphic stuff that they're doing, but I'm just saying you playing rough and you doing what you're doing. You hit your head or the person hit their head. And listen, anything could possibly happen. You know what I'm saying? And you find yourself in a case like this. So this is a very, very tragic case. It really is. Salute to everybody, though. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you are making sure the notification bells are on. Put the notification bells on to all. If you're not getting my notifications, all you got to do is unsubscribe, subscribe right back, and put the notifications on all. That's all you got to do. Tell a friend, tell a friend. OotaOnGo is the Cash App. I will be building a PayPal as well. Make sure you all subscribe to the channel. Like I said, man. I appreciate y'all all. Salute to all the new subscribers. Welcome to OnGo. You're all welcome here. This is not just my channel. It's all of our channels. Oota, Oota, Oota. We always on go, y'all. You know what you need to do.
All my niggas from the Oota. All my niggas turn shooters. Oota, Oota. All my ops turn racks. All my niggas turn shooters. On the internet, you ain't been a threat. You been stuck in a computer. All my niggas turn shooters. Oota, Oota. All my ops turn racks. All my niggas from the Oota. All my niggas turn shooters.